Let's Not Meet stories posted on Reddit. Narrated by the Deathless Lord Cerberus. Story 1. At some point when I was 13, I was home alone with two of my childhood friends. I got a phone call from some company on the home phone. It was an Indian man, and I told him my parents were not home. He asked,
"How old are you?"
I answered, I'm 13. So he knew he had no business speaking with me. He said,
"I'll call later to talk to them."
We said goodbye and I hung up. I wish I did what I usually do now. Just hang up. Company calls can be annoying when they just want to sell stuff, but I was an awkward teen and I didn't like to just hang up on people. He called later on in the day, asking my parents if he could talk to their daughter. I have an older sister, but she had already moved out at this point. But no, he wasn't talking about her, he was talking about me. My mum told him I was too young to be having company calls, but he insisted. I have no idea what he wanted, or why he insisted on talking to me. My mum allowed him to speak with me. She wanted to know what the heck he wanted. He asked things like,
"What do you like doing? What have you been doing at school?
and
Do you like talking to me?"
I found it so fucking creepy. I never answered his questions. I was confused. My mum was listening in and decided that he had had his fun, so she hung up. He called a couple of days later, saying he knew where I lived. He didn't know my street or something that precise, but he knew whereabouts. And my mum told him to not call again. I guess it's disturbing for a parent to have their child harassed like this. He called again apologising to my mum and asked if he could talk to me once more to say sorry. I agreed to talk with him. My parents listened in again. He said,
"I like you so much and I want to be with you. Please let me talk to you. I didn't want to scare you. Don't leave me."
My parents changed our number. My guess is he was playing some sick joke and was getting a kick out of it all. No, he never called me again. No, I didn't feel like I was being followed. Nothing happened. But I'll never forget him and his weird need to talk to me. Weird phone guy? Never call me again. Story 2. So this happened to my mum 21 years ago, when my brother and I were only kids. We used to live pretty far out of town, like a 5-minute drive, which doesn't sound like much, but it was far enough out there to not get many visitors, unless they were invited. She moved to this little house because she was only after getting a divorce from my dad, and the guy that owned the house she was renting felt sorry for her and gave her a really good price for the rent, so she didn't mind that it was a tiny house in the middle of nowhere. So one night this guy calls at the house and knocks at the front door. My mum goes to answer it. In our town, your mind doesn't instantly jump to the worst case scenario. This young guy, mid-20s, at the door was covered in blood, dirt, and completely out of breath. He asked my mum if he could use the phone. He hit an animal with his car and needed a taxi. My mum said no, sorry, go somewhere else. At this point, he stuck his foot in the door and said,
"Can I use your phone?"
I should point out that my uncle, who's a joiner handyman, 6'3", fairly big, was out with my mum at the time fixing something in the kitchen. He came to the front door, saw the guy, and told him to fuck off. Followed after the guy to the road, and watched as he jumped into a nearby field and started running into the pitch blackness. He decided to stay the night just in case the guy came back. Next morning, when my mum was about to take my brother and I to school, police showed up and wouldn't let my mum leave the house. Turns out the guy was arrested after brutally killing a young kid, 11 years old, just shortly before calling at our house, I assume. Still kind of freaks me out to this day. What would have happened if my uncle hadn't have been there that night? Story 3. Apologies for the length of this post, but it actually extends beyond the original encounter. First, in order to make proper sense, I need to provide a little background. I live in the UK, and as a child we lived on the grounds of a private military school where my stepdad worked. Most workers were provided with family accommodation, and we were currently living in a big old house at the south end of the grounds. The school grounds were enormous, and required key entry through massive gates at each end, and comprised of boarding houses for students, church, the main building, a sports centre, etc., and houses, all surrounded by woods that enclosed the college. As the grounds were patrolled by security guards, we enjoyed a very free childhood, and were allowed to roam around and pretty much do as we like. We, being myself, my older sister Sarah, and a childhood friend Alice. One afternoon, when Alice and I were about 9, my sister 11, we decided to go into the woods, where we knew there was a rope swing to play. We were playing for maybe 20 minutes, taking turns before we realised there was a man, maybe in his early 20s, with scruffy hair, leaning against a concrete wall next to the clearing. This in itself was odd, as we'd never seen anyone else here, but being young, we shouted hello. The man didn't seem to respond and just stood staring at us. He just looked completely blank, like there was nothing behind his eyes. I think we all realised at the same time that he was giving off a very strange, creepy vibe, so we decided to leave. Just as we are backing up to leave, he suddenly gives us a "come here" motion with his hand. But instead of the blank look from before, he now has a weird, sadistic smile, which rooted us to the spot. At this point I realise he also has one arm behind his back, which he's slowly bringing around to reveal that he's holding a large, sharp kitchen knife. We turned and ran the hell out of there, and strangely the man didn't even try to chase us, just was laughing manically while we ran straight back home, terrified to tell my mum. The security guards were informed, but apparently could not find this man. Subsequently, we were banned from going into the woods. We never saw the man again, and the incident, although not forgotten about, no longer was actively thought of, until we moved house. As my mum had had 2 more children, we were moved to a bigger house on the northern part of the grounds. At first, everything was fine, until one day I was playing in the garden to see a familiar face looking back at me over the fence. I was instantly terrified. He had the same blank eyes and weird sadistic grin, and worst of all, I just knew he recognised me. After bolting inside and locking the doors, I told my mum I'd seen him again. This is where my mind goes a bit foggy because I don't remember what actually happened next, and it was only when I was about 14 I finally heard the truth. The man was actually the mentally unstable son of one of the college security guards who just happened to be our new next door neighbours. Hence why nothing had been done after the incident in the woods. Strangely, I didn't ever see him again, and I lived in this home until I was 16, but we would regularly hear bizarre sounds coming from their home, like moaning, shouting, and the sounds as if the house was being trashed inside, and sometimes I would get the unmistakable feeling I was being watched by him somehow. Scariest thing is, we lived only 15 minutes from an asylum for the criminally insane. I even used to wonder if he should have been there. So, scary knife-wielding insane neighbour, let's not meet for the 3rd time. Ever. How's it going, buddies? Thanks for watching my video. If you like this material, please click the like button, share it with your friends, and please subscribe, as it will support me greatly. I intend to upload 2 to 3 videos every week. Maybe more if I have the time, but definitely 2 to 3 videos every week. If that sounds like your sort of thing, guys, and gameplay is also your thing, then please stick with me. Stick with Cerberus, because great content is on its way. I don't know what I'll be playing yet, or what I'll be narrating yet, but with you guys with me, I'm sure it'll be a great journey. Thank you guys, and remember, beware the deathless Lord Cerberus. Beware the 3-headed dog.